Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Brian's Logic, 10th Man, Arwin, Refracted Curvature, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Got so excited about the live stream working straight after the pre-show that I forgot to mute my mic and celebrated just as the live stream started. So my apologies to anyone trying to enjoy my intro music with me going, woohoo, it's worked! Because it did. And I was then so thrown off that it had worked that I was like, do I need to do another intro for the Patreons? No, I've already shouted them out already. Hooray! I don't have to do that bit, which confused me slightly in the intro. So I'm actually excited that it's going well, and that's causing me to make things go badly in terms of how I do my intro. But now that's out of the way, we were having a very nice discussion, and I'm hoping that will continue. So, Brian, can you maybe give us a brief summary of what we were discussing in the pre-show to keep the audience up to date so they know why we're not using housekeeping straight away?
Hey, before we do, don't you need to shout out your show for Zanuck before we?
Yeah, okay. Tails on nicely, so yes, that's a good point. Sorry, Brian. Hold that thought. Hopefully this does not ruin the tempo and tone of what we were discussing in the pre-show. But as a result, me celebrating the pre and live and after show will hopefully all be linked together today. I made a bit of a cock-up yesterday, so I put out several videos that were shorts to sort of build the momentum for people wanting to see the full uncut show with Virus and Zanuck, about 4 hours long, but a good solid 45 minutes with Zanuck, maybe an hour with Virus in the after show, going through the elevation angle argument in a reasonable amount of detail, with them having to confess their uses of flat planes. It was brilliant. But obviously, we've been discussing it in the interim, and I've been dripping out these shorts. So then I put out one of two main chunks of the discussion, which were about 10 minutes long, yesterday, and then told everyone, go and watch the show, which is 1613. Is it 16? Yeah, 1613. It's going to premiere on my second channel, so subscribe today to my second channel. If you're watching live now, links in the info box. Because tonight, if you are watching this now, that's when the actual show comes out. But because the show had been broken up through OBS crashing, I plugged the wrong show. But that is actually coming out tonight. So be here or be sphere on my second channel, which is just called Nathan Oakley, rather than Nathan Oakley 1980, where you're watching live now, to see the full uncut and after show with, as mentioned, Zanuck and Virus in its uncut format. I will, as I've got one left, I was hoping to save that for next weekend, but nevertheless, that will come out tonight. So at quarter to 9, or 20:45 UK time, there will be a short version, maybe 10 or 11 minutes, taken from that video. Like I say, it's about 4 hours long, so it's obviously, I don't expect everyone to sit through all 4 hours to get to the juicy bits. But before the show even begins, on this channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, there'll be a short video at 8:45, and then I'll spam the link again. Sorry if you went there yesterday and didn't get the show you thought, for my second channel. So you can see that full show with all of the discussion, heated though it was, funny though it was, with Fundy from the Globe sides telling us how flat it is and how they're begging us for tangent planes when we debunk tangents. So epic show. That'll come out on my second channel, but hopefully this disaster will mean maybe I build the second show's subscriber rate. Who knows? You know, all that good crap. Check it out.
What's wrong with watching all 4 hours? I do it.
I'm sure I do too, but it's my show and you're on the show too. So, you know, we can't really use that as the yardstick now, can we, Neil? So, Brian, have we add enough interim to completely kill the conversation we're having in the pre-show? I've forgotten what we were talking about now.
No. I just have to. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. While you're doing that, glad you've remembered, because I can now do an intro to it. So we were talking about perspective hijacking, Earth curve mathematics, and the relationship that would seem to infer that Earth curve gets closer and closer to you the lower you get to the ground, as per their mathematics. And Brian's point was to say that you've got a ratio that doesn't stack up. It seems to be the case that you can see a lot further closer to the ground than realistically you would be able to based on their mathematics. So hopefully that's enough of a vague intro to expand upon for you, Brian, and the live audience. Go ahead, Brian. You're on screen.
Yeah, okay. I'll give a bit of a rundown. How this started was some time ago. I remember that I had made a small video with an iPad where I was 1 inch above the waterline at this beach, and I was looking out, and I could see a ship that because I had Ship Finder on my phone, and I could see, because I was able to see with the Ship Finder the distance to the ship, and I was videoing it with the iPad. Now it's an old iPad, so it wasn't a brilliant video, but I could see this ship, and there was a picture of the ship in the Ship Finder. Everything was there, all the details of the ship that you need, and exactly where it is. And it was docked. It wasn't moving. It was anchored at that point. And this ship was 6 miles away from me. Now there was breakers on the water in front of me of 2 or 3 inches high, and I should have really rose up a bit, but on the day for what I was trying to do, but I didn't. I just stayed at 1 inch. But I could see the ship, and the ship was 6 miles away. So I was thinking, like, if the ship is 6 miles away and I'm only 1 inch, then off the water, then that's going to be a phenomenal distance as per my viewer height. And I worked out that from different observations that I had made, that 1 inch right into 6 miles goes into it 380,160 times. So I was viewing, as per my 1 inch viewer height, 380,160 times my viewer height. And then I remember seeing a boat that was 7 miles away from me. Now this was with my eyes, not with a camera, from 6 foot, because I was standing at the shoreline on a different day, a different shoreline, but I was standing at a shoreline. I was checked it on the Ship Finder app on my phone. It was 7 miles away, and that would be 6,150 times my viewer height of 6 foot. So my 6 foot viewer height, I could see a boat that was, I could see something that was 6,150 times my viewer height. But then I remembered being on an airplane, right? And I said, right, an airplane, an international flight anyway, they fly about 6 miles up. And I remember Jay Tolan's video where he said he could see it, and this is what reminded me, because this video came up earlier. He could see 1,000 miles when he was flying across Lake Michigan. But 6 into 1,000 miles is only 166.6, right, times his viewer height. So, like, that's a lot. It's less and less and less as you go. So if we take the 1 inch where I could see 6 miles, and we treat that 1 inch as 6 miles up in the sky, then if I multiplied my 6 miles up in the sky by 330,160, right, like I could see with the 1 inch, that would mean that from an airplane, if I could see that far from that high up, from an airplane, I'd be seeing 2,280,960 miles. So it gets less and less, even though the measured distance is further, because obviously 7 miles is further than 6 miles, 1,000 miles is further than 7 miles, but it doesn't matter what you use, the distance is less as you go higher. You can see further from lower. And as per your viewing height, if you as per the division of your viewing height,
as a ratio, as opposed to as an actual further distance, it's just that's where it confused me in the pre-show. It took about 5 minutes to explain it to me.
Yeah, as a ratio, you can see further from lower down, but that's the opposite from globe Earth. Globe Earth is less from lower down and more from higher up. That's their claim. So why I even sent the video I had, this is going back, I don't know when it was, I sent it to Adam, was to ask him what would be my distance to a geometric globe horizon from 1 inch, because I made it about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and he never got back to me.
It's 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height, so in feet. So you just have to do that with an inch. What's 1.2 times the square root of your observer height if it's 1 inch?
Yeah, that's square roots or something I don't know how to do. That's why I asked Adam. I never learned how to do square roots. So I left school at like 15, so do you know what I mean? So square roots is something I just never learned how to do. So and I meant to learn how to do them and I never did. So I just used the curve calculator all the time, but I couldn't use it for this. So I don't know what 1 inch would be on the globe, but it wouldn't be very far.
So
one foot is 1.2 miles.
It's just 1 inch. It's just one, Brian.
Is it?
Yeah, 1.2 times 1.
Right. All right. Okay. Yeah. So 1.2 inches or something, is it? I don't know what it is. But anyway, it would be very small. It wouldn't be 6 miles. Do you know what I mean?
So, yeah, exactly. So your statement is to say that the geometric horizon should be at 1.2 inches.
Well, it shouldn't be. It should be very close to you, that's for sure.
Yeah, 1.2 inches would be pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, because according to globe maths, it has to be closer to you the closer you are to the surface of Earth. You know, your viewing height can't be multiplied by 380,000 times. You know what I mean?
This is for those of you watching live. If you're a little bit confused, don't worry too much. We will get this more concise. This has literally just been aired by Brian, and by just I mean 2 years ago and then forgotten about.
Yeah, and this thing here that I have on the screen, this is only something that only recently I decided to do. Because at the time I was trying to see how far I could see from 1 inch, because that would, just out of curiosity. And it never occurred to me to do this. But recently I said, there's something wrong here, because I remember the 1,000 miles video from Jay Tolan, and I said, right, and that's with an IR filter and a super zoom camera from an airplane. So 1,000 miles. So normally you'd see maybe 150 miles on a clear day, maybe a bit more. But you wouldn't be seeing normally 1,000 miles, because you can't see through all the weather and everything. But that's probably the max you're going to see with an IR filter and a super zoom camera from 6 miles up is 1,000 miles. And that's only 166 times his viewer height. Whereas from 1 inch with an iPad, I could see 380,000 times my viewer height. And from 6 feet, I could see 6,000 times my viewer height. So your viewer distance, your ratio distance as per your viewer height is less as you rise up, even though the measured distance is further. But it's the opposite from the globe. The globe has to be the opposite. You should be seeing further, your furthest per your ratio as you go higher. That's about it, really.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, we've got a whole series. I mean, we started in the pre-show talking about the Isle of Man with Anthony on his belly at the Isle of Man, looking at the north end of it, something like 34 miles. And further to that, you had Ranty Flat Earth, when he was Ranty Flat Earth, now Fleur Perspective, on the other side of the argument. And I remember him having Barrow in Finesse at 1 inch, because he used the bird, flipping the bird as the 1 in his thumbnail for the 1 inch. Now, from memory, I do vaguely remember taking a cap of whatever it was, a screenshot of whatever it was that he'd got because of that particular thumbnail. I just thought it was amusing. And I'm sure I've got it on this iPad. I'm sure I transferred it across from the old iPad. But I'm going to have a hunt for it and see if I can find that particular 1 inch observation, just because it's very specifically 1 inch.
I think, is it 1 inch or 1 foot?
No, 1 inch.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he did it several times, and there was one particular occasion that he dug a hole. He kind of tried to replicate Anthony, and he dug a hole, and he was doing it as video footage with his P900, and just as he picked up the camera, the water came into the hole. Oh, I've got these images right now. Let's see if I can find a good one. So
I'll let you on my...
I'll dig it out and I'll see if I can. I had a bit of trouble last time getting these photos to actually send on Skype, so if I do have to faff around, I'll just give up. But I do know where they are on my iPad now for future reference.
As a cause for this, do you think it has to do with like a relationship with like particles in the air? Because there's a set number of particles you can see through, right?
What I thought it might be is because you're looking through the same density of air. Like at 1 inch, looking across the water, I'm looking through the same density and whatever moisture level or whatever of air. Whereas if you're looking down at an angle, which you often will be, the higher you go at more of an angle, then you're not looking through the same exact density. You're looking through a kind of gradient of density. But maybe it's just purely down to God said no. I was thinking that too. God said no. You're only going to see this far. You're never going to see the Earth like you want to see it.
Yeah, Earth curve mathematics completely fall apart after, what is it? You get below 6 foot, they start to fall apart.
Yeah.
And like I said in the pre-show, that's where Chocolate had kosher over a barrel with a toy boat just in the near foreground. So suddenly you have the same effects that they describe at the physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve. But that effect can be induced an inch off the water with a toy boat, and it's the exact same effect. But because you've got this disproportionate distance being seen very low to the ground, you can induce what they call Earth curve much, much sooner. And you know who else suffered from that? Man, they're all coming back to me. National Geographic did the exact same thing, right? On the it's not on this bloody slide reel now, but I've got some shots of them, out with flat earthers, looking at the boat and saying, look, there's the boat disappearing from bottom up. It's covering the flag. There's one stripe gone. There's 2 stripes gone. You're like, yeah, but the horizon's behind it. So in other words, they're showing a black swan. But what we hadn't also focused on up until now is just the horizon's behind it, dumbos. Bye-bye geometric Earth curve. Obviously what you're seeing in the boat isn't what we've covered up until now, but we will now, because we're seeing that effect on the boat. What they wanted to call Earth curve and were claiming was Earth curve, with a horizon behind it, is still an effect that they've induced low to the ground. Well, why would they be seeing a tremendous distance to have this effect in the first place if Earth curve should be really close to them? Well, in reality, the horizon's still much, 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 much further away, but they're getting this optical effect induced at the distance they expected, but not the Earth curve edge horizon. Epic. This definitely warrants more investigation, in case anybody was wondering why we completely went and forego the housekeeping entirely. It's because I think this is fascinating, and we've got, straight away, without even giving it much thought, 2, 3, 4 examples. I've just put Ranty's picture up on screen, by the way, in case anybody was wanting to reference it. If it's the right one, it might be vaguely a different one. It doesn't really matter, just to give an idea of what he was looking at.
Oh, Nathan, you just don't understand. The geometric horizon was blocking it, but the apparent horizon was visible behind it.
Yeah, you don't have 2 horizons, though. So on screen now, we've got the Andrew Thomas Young explanation that Arwen's trying to... One of those vague times, hopefully this happens more often, where the slideshow actually corresponds with what's being talked about. So you've got a point that's marked G, and that's how they derive H. Well, H is the visible horizon. We've only got one. So this diagram's claiming that this is the point that we're seeing as a horizon, as an explanation for why the horizon's beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere Earth at G. So the point marked G is a second horizon, typically the one that they had a straight line to that claimed to block boats and buildings. Yeah, that's the non-visible geometric horizon. What's that you say? Horizons are visible? Yeah, that's right, they are. So it's not a horizon then. So we don't have 2. It can't be a non-visible geometric horizon that we must see to get the maths, but isn't seen because it's claimed to be at H. Also blocking it, well, we don't have 2 horizons, are we?
No, we don't have 2 geometric horizons, but we can have infinite apparent horizons.
There's only one apparent horizon. It's the one that's apparent.
Yeah, but the other one's geometric. It's blocking
There is
things.
no other one. The definition of a horizon is that it is apparent. So to say an apparent horizon is actually redundant, because a horizon by definition is the apparent location where the sky meets the ground or sea. Well, that's a apparent position. So an apparent position where the sky meets the ground or sea, Arwin. There's no apparent horizon. It's just redundant.
Yep. Yeah, but I'm only calling it apparent because the other apparent horizon is obviously geometric and blocking things.
There isn't two horizons. What are you talking about?
Yes, there is.
No, there isn't.
In the helicopter example, right? You said that the horizon was actually visible behind it. Yeah, but the one in front, the geometric one, was blocking it.
Yeah, but that wasn't a demarcation between the land or sea and sky. That wasn't a horizon. It was a limitation to your view based on angular relationships with the boat. So against the deck, the boat started to disappear into the waves. But there wasn't a horizon there at all. That was beyond it. As I say, we've only got one. There wasn't a second one forming a line called Earth curve blocking the boat. It was just blocking a flag. So the flag is disappearing. That's an angular limitation. But the sea itself is carrying on beyond where that's happening. In the same way, Kosho had to justify how the boat, the little toy boat, is disappearing from bottom up long before any Earth curve, again, way into the distance, not looking at any edges, just the boat getting smaller into the distance and then disappearing from bottom up due to an angular relationship with the deck that you can't see over. Therefore, you've not got a wide angle through the deck limits your view. Therefore, that's where your obstruction starts and becomes to appear as Earth curve, not when it's beyond it.
I don't know where you're getting this assertion that you only have one horizon when obviously there's first things are obstructed by the geometric horizon, then the apparent horizon is where the sky seems to meet the ground, right? But that's only because terrestrial refraction enables that visibility beyond the geometric horizon.
Meanwhile, the geometric, begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator claims that Earth curve geometric horizon blocks boats and buildings, Arwin. That's what the claim is.
Well, you could think of it like that, but effectively...
That's what it is. No. Don't try and do that. That's slightly sneakier than usual. It's not that I need to think a bit like that, Arwin. That is the globe claim. Not me thinking of horizons of anything. That is the globe claim. The globe claims a physical geometric sphere edge, formerly known as Earth curve, as a horizon. Not me. I don't have to think of it as anything. That's their claim.
You and your curvature calculator are
exactly. I knew this would lead on beautifully with Arwin. So yeah, what's next? Telling me that my ideas of Earth curve being an edge, geometric in nature, as labelled with the word horizon, at a tangent point in the Earth curve maths, that's debunked, is it, Nathan? I'll have people telling me how my Earth curve's debunked from the opposite side. This is why, as I said in previous shows, they're as dangerous as we are on the anti-flat Earth side of this argument, because they go around saying things like you and your reference frames are ruined.
Not to mention that if the horizon was Earth curve refracted or not, you wouldn't be able to derive an angle to build a model of a celestial sphere. So you need the Earth to be flat to have a globe model.
You're leading me into housekeeping, so I can ask Brian if there's any more to add.
Just because the base drop for calculating how the globe model works is flat doesn't mean that there isn't any geometric obstruction that proves that the Earth is actually a ball.
But they claim there is a geometric obstruction that does claim it proves they're a ball. It formerly was called Earth curve and was the horizon, Arwin. So as much as you're trying to be clever, I'm very much got my eye on you, my friend. Yeah, you sigh like the Fundy sigh too, don't you? Baldwin sighs just like they sigh.
It's very tough being a ball believer.
It is when I'm paying attention. It's only because Arwin gave the game away that we slipped into Baldwin without telling me that, and I spotted it, that I started paying a little bit closer attention to what you were saying, because I knew double speak was coming my way. Hey, Eli.
Hey, Eli.
Good morning, guys.
You've joined at a good time, because I'm going to do housekeeping, unless Brian, who hasn't, Arwin spoke for him, unless Brian's got anything else to add.
No. That happened. Investigated it any further. that'd be an interesting thing that people will probably look at their observations from the past and go, yeah, I could see further as per ratio of viewer height. It's just the opposite from what the globe claim is. I think that's the main part of it, isn't it?
Well, the thing
So
to
I have
round
a lot
out
more to add
was John's point, which was the ultimate one, is the black swan when it comes to that, right, John? That was your point, so you might as well round out with that.
Yeah, it seems that what Brian's talking about seems to be the same principle that the black swan debunks Earth curve. Earth curve mathematics completely fall apart when you get below the average viewer height.
Yeah, I remember thinking about that, but I didn't want to add a load of stuff in. Just like anyone now can go out and they can prove that for themselves if they want. So, but you don't have to do much. You just look at how far you can see from the shoreline from 6 foot up, and then see how far you can see from an airplane. The ratio will be less from an airplane. That's it, really.
Okay, let's do a bit of housekeeping. As we mentioned it a few moments earlier, any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle from a curved baseline?
No, there's no evidence that that's possible. Well, even it's an oxymoron to ask for evidence, isn't it? Because like an elevation angle, like it's defined as having 3 straight lines. You have the adjacent, the hypotenuse, and the opposite. That's an angle. There's 3 straight lines. They have to be straight, otherwise it's not an angle. To ask, is there any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle from a curved baseline? It's just, you can't.
I totally get what you mean. Like, it ties into me saying that the only reason we actually argued for this long is because it just, well, I won't say here, but pretty much everywhere a baller can, he will try to redefine terms to mean things that they don't mean. And this is no different, okay? Angles, 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex, okay. The adjacent has to be obviously a line, okay. Like it's very simple, unless you have a religious belief in something else. Then you have maybe a hypothetical way it might work, but then again, I've never seen that, so not even hypothetically.
And further to that, if you want to see Zanuck admitting that you require a flat Earth in order to acquire these elevation angles, so a baller making our point absolutely clear that you must do this on a flat plane, it's the first step, there's no way around it, then check out this channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, at 8:45 p.m. tonight UK time, as that's the main chunk of that particular disclosure from Zanuck on a show that's also being released immediately afterwards on my second channel, which is Nathan Oakley, at 9 p.m. So be here or be sphere for Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show 1613 on Nathan Oakley channel, 9 p.m. UK tonight, and the lead up, which is a introduction to that, preview if you will, which is about 10 or 11 minutes long, which goes out quarter to the hour, so that's 8:45 on Nathan Oakley 1980, this channel today if you're watching live. Be here or be sphere. Any evidence of Earth curve?
No. And there can't be, as long as celestial navigation use parallel zeniths. Because if Earth had curvature to it, then zeniths could never be parallel. And parallel zeniths are required for celestial navigation to gain a co-altitude zenith distance. Otherwise, they can't use zenith distance. So Earth curve would be an absolute impossibility.
Okay, so shout out to us so far for hitting the super chat. It says, love the show. Could you give us the elevator definition of the black swan? ? I'm having a hard time keeping it simple. Yeah, no problem. I've done that several times. There's also a short that I've done, which was about 35 seconds long with the modus tollens argument only. So I'll give you the modus tollens argument and I'll break it down in as concise a way as I can so far. So thank you very much, first and foremost, for the super chat. Really do appreciate the support. So the modus tollens argument, that would be the logical consistency. The argument is, if you will, if the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon measurement could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the distance to the horizon in the black swan image is beyond that geometric limitation laid down by Earth curve mathematics. Therefore, the horizon is not Earth curve, and the geometric limitations are breached, so it can't be a sphere. Spheres don't grow. So let's break that down. Earth curve math says that there's a horizon that blocks boats and buildings. That's the geometric Earth curve edge, the one that they ask you to explain why boats are going over it. That's the geometry of Earth curve being asserted at an edge called the horizon and claimed to be Earth curve, with boats falling over it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Earth curve has boats falling over the horizon. Isn't that amusing? So, the black swan image has the horizon that should, according to their claim of the geometric Earth curve edge, be blocking Platform Habitat and Platform Hill House, 2 oil rigs. Now, the distance to those oil rigs is 6.4 and 9.8 miles off the top of my head, just under 10 miles at the furthest distance. And the horizon, which should, according to them, with its geometry and its physical limitations, like a hill getting in the way of something, instead of the hill getting in the way of those oil rigs, the hill's now behind the oil rigs. Now, obviously, physical rocks don't grow in size, ergo the horizon isn't an Earth curve geometric obstruction blocking the front of those oil rigs. It's behind them. So the horizon has moved. It's not a geometric limitation to your view. Geometric Earth curve edge limitations don't move. So to compare it, to dumb it down a little bit, if you're looking at a hill out of your window, so you're at reasonable elevation in a hilly area, and you know that beyond one particular hill is a little town with a shop in it. Now, there'll never be a scenario where you wake up one morning, open your curtains, look out at the top of that hill, and see that the hill's not there, the town is, and the hill's behind it. But that is precisely what is shown in the black swan imagery. Their formerly known as Earth curve horizon that blocked boats and buildings isn't blocking boats and buildings anymore. It's beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere Earth with a radius of 3959. So the Earth's not a sphere, and the horizon's not Earth curve. Hope that's concise enough for you. Anybody got anything to add before I ask axial rotation housekeeping questions?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Hey, Chocolate.
Hey, Chocolate.
Go, Choco.
Hey, guys.
Yeah. Just for that person, I'd make it as simple as possible. If the Earth is a globe with a radius of 3959 miles, then from a 1 foot observation height, the horizon can be no more than 1.23 miles. The horizon is more than 1.23 miles from a 1 foot observation height, so the Earth is not a globe with a radius of 3959 miles.
Or if you really want to mess with them, say if the Earth's curving, then Eratosthenes could never have measured Earth as a sphere.
Yes.
You got to add on the point that these guys have now come to the point where they tell us the only reason we don't see the geometric horizon at 1.2 miles away is because we have an atmosphere. Any other time they made that claim, did we have an atmosphere when they were claiming we saw the Earth curve and effects of that shit?
But just to summarise Chocolate's point before he moves into why that's nonsense. So their response is to tell us that the tangent point in the geometry, formerly known as Earth curve, which was, up until this moment, blocking boats and buildings with its physical geometry, that's Earth curve edge horizon, they're telling us, what was that again, Chocolate?
We can't see it due to us having an atmosphere.
We can't see the physical limitation to our view, known as Earth curve, formerly blocking boats and buildings. What's actually happening is a refractive effect based on the geometry at 7/6r or any derivative they want, because it's sphere-shaped air, atmosphere. An oxymoron. Air isn't sphere-shaped, but they're saying the reason we don't see Earth curve and its physical geometry to block boats and buildings is because of the atmosphere, sphere-shaped air. Therefore, it's not Earth curve boats are going over, it's an atmospheric effect, correct?
Yeah, that's crazy.
They never taught us that in school.
Just everyone else just talking chocolate. But just to be clear with chocolate, they're telling us the tangent point, formerly known as Earth curve edge horizon, can't be seen. Correct, chocolate?
Yes, sir.
So no tangent point then, chocolate. Yes, sir. That's my chocolate.
I'm sorry, I'm at work.
No worries. That's a yes, an affirmative from chocolate, I assure you. But if you don't, if you don't take chocolate's word for it, take Mr. Sensible's word for it, who made it explicitly clear very recently, and I trimmed it out. No geometric horizon. That's your tangent point. I just want to make that abundantly clear for all of those of you who want to beg the question of a tangent point that's got an infinitely expandable flat plane we'll actually be measuring and navigating on. You don't. I just wanted to make that clear. As you made it so clear for the last 2 years to us. No geometric horizon. Yeah, that's a tangent point, by the way. Go ahead, chocolate.
It was me.
Eli.
But I just wanted to make the point that, just talking to, matter of fact, forget just talking to normies, just saying it like this, period, should wisp away a cloud over anyone who doesn't, is still undecided. Do you really believe that if we lived on an Earth with the size that they claim, which means that the horizon is the physical boundary that you can see no more land, do you really think that air would change that in 1 mile? For real?
Nope.
1 mile.
But if they did...
Well, it has to.
I've got to address it again. It's great. This is great. So what you're saying there, Eli, is, are you really claiming we can't see Earth curve, geometric tangent point, because of atmosphere at 1 mile? Yeah, what you're doing is you're whistling past the concession and asking them, do you really believe we can't see Earth curve because of atmosphere? Just take the win. They're saying we can't see the tangent point, that's Earth curve. And justifying why we can't see Earth curve, which formerly was definitely claimed to be seen. It was formerly blocking boats and buildings and stuff. But now we're arguing about why they say we can't see Earth curve. Do we need to take this further?
Well, yeah.
I could take it further a little bit.
Can I say something quick?
Arwen's been trying to get in a little bit for a while, and then chocolate. But I was actually addressing that to Eli. So you fight it out amongst yourselves.
I'm just outraged that they're telling us that...
Sorry.
Go on, Eli. Eli, then Arwen, then chocolate. Go ahead, Eli.
It was that joke. The hey. Anyway, no, yeah, that is very a simple way to put it. And immediately, just by asking the question, you can already deduce that. Oh, well, in my question, I'm saying that you're saying that there's no Earth curve.
Exactly. Go ahead, Arwen. Hey, Adam.
Right.
Hi, guys.
Adam. Yeah, I'm just outraged that they're telling us that the curvature doesn't visually block things in a geometric way because the atmosphere unwraps it into an apparent flat plane. Well, why wasn't I being taught about that in geology class in school? They said that if the boat goes further away, then it's blocked by Earth curve. Why didn't they tell us that doesn't actually happen because of the atmosphere?
Because that's the claim of Earth curve in the first instance. And as shown on screen, refraction, geometry it is not.
Why didn't they teach me that in school? They
because they were-
convinced me that it was blocking boats.
Yeah, because they wanted to tell you it was blocking boats and buildings and was Earth curve, Arwin. But we debunked that with the Black Swan. Now, anti-flat earthers tell us we wouldn't expect to see Earth curve. We can't see physical geometry. Nobody's claiming we see physical geometry. Those are all quotes from anti-flat earthers, by the way.
Well, I'm just saying they need to
know why,
update.
Arwen?
They need to update the geology class curriculum to basically.
You know why? You know
To
why
flat.
they didn't tell you that, Arwen? Because if they had told you that back then, what you would do is you would start visualizing in your head. So, okay, we don't see the geometric horizon. Let's put this scenario, right? We have no atmosphere whatsoever. Okay, let's just say, let's put us in Narnia real quick. No air whatsoever.
No
So I
Atmo
go
Day.
to the beach. No Atmo Day, yes. That beautiful holiday that Globers think exists. So I go to the beach, lay my towel out, go to the water, right? And I'm looking out at the water at about, I don't know, 1 foot observer height. So they're telling you that at 1.2 miles away, that's where your Earth curves is supposed to start from that observation height. Your sun will start setting at 1.2 miles away. Does anybody think that's reality?
Further
only
to that,
during no Atmo Day, you know.
if the Earth was curving, you wouldn't be able to measure an elevation angle.
Correct.
I put myself in Narnia, man. Come on.
Yeah, but even in... no, I'm glad you said that, Chocolate. John, re-stress your point. Or don't. Both require a flat plane to measure an elevation angle, Chocolate. So taking us to Narnia... Now, admittedly, you can get around that by saying, in Narnia, I assume that I take an angle measurement from the surface, but I picture me being in the middle of a sphere Earth, like right in the middle of the rock, in the middle of the moline core, to make the angle measurement work. But John's saying, yeah, okay, but you can't actually measure that angle because you're not at the centre of the rock after you've measured the angle, you're on the surface, and your surface is curved. So in Narnia, you're still going to need a flat plane for this, Chocolate. That's kind of what John's talking about. Even in Narnia, you still need a flat plane.
Yeah, but being that I'm in Narnia, I could just pretend somebody went to the middle of the Earth and took that elevation angle. Why not?
Because even in Narnia, because Narnia being comparable to the situation with us and fundy space-believing globe heads, comparatively speaking, even when you are in Narnia, the people of Narnia still take an angle measurement on the surface. I know that might sound strange because, you know, not comparatively, none of our opponents are going to the centre of Earth, are they? They just push the angle that they've measured on the surface. Well, they didn't measure it on the surface, did they? Because their surface is curved. Again, that's John's point. He's just not piping up.
They just draw a ball around it. They just draw a ball around that flat plane that they're standing on and observing things from.
Yep. Flat plane that they're standing on and observing things on and measuring things on. Earth is obviously, observably, navigatably, measurably flat. For both parties.
Which would bring me to my second point. When they hold up the celestial sphere model and then ask you for your model, they're actually holding up the flat Earth model and demanding that you provide another flat Earth model, which is kind of funny.
Yep, very amusing. It reminds me of trying to explain to conspiracy cats the argument of gas pressure without a container and having to repeat the same thing to him in excess of 100 times in my comments. Now, by the time I got to 100, he was telling us, without the container, there can be no pressure, end quote, conspiracy cats. So he got there in the end, after 100 attempts from me with him sticking his head in the sand and obfuscating and ignoring. Guess who's doing that right now? Any guesses? Got a count going. Mucktoon. So he's been dwelling in my comments for the last month since he put out his challenge. Now, I can't speak to the times we've explained this situation prior to him, but I used to just put a counter on how long we'd been explaining that you need a flat Earth first, because that's the main crux of our argument at the moment, obviously. But it ties directly into that challenge. So ever since the challenge came out, we've been telling him, in no uncertain terms, you're going to need a flat Earth first to acquire the elevation angles. Now, after, and I've counted them, 43 attempts so far, with McToon, to McToon, directly, in my comments, he's been told that it requires a flat Earth angle measurement first. He's now, after 43 attempts, referencing Euclid to not have to say the word tangent. And like flies on shit, the people in the comments have just gone up and looked at what Euclid reference he's making, and the reference is to a tangent. So he's almost begging us for a tangent plane, as opposed to just sticking his head in the sand. So he might get this after 50 attempts. They're twice as good as conspiracy cats in terms of being quick on the uptake. But so far, 43 attempts, me putting exactly the same thing to him. You're going to need a flat Earth to get the elevation angle measurements, voiding your entire challenge. Now, he is under the misapprehension that I'm somehow part of his competition, like he can hide behind his little rules and regulations. Yeah, it's like barking lotto rules at somebody who doesn't buy a ticket. Yeah, I'm not involved in your little competition there, McToon. What I am doing is utilising your competition to demonstrate to an audience how it's based on a flat Earth. Which it is. Will we get to 100 like with Conspiracy Cats? We'll see. I'll let you know. I'll keep you up to date.
Right. His star chart that he says we can't use utilize a flat plane to formulate those star charts. So I don't think he can strike that one off the list, since that's a flat Earth model of the star charts.
Well, yeah, first thing he needs to do is address elevation angle acquisition, because it's going to require a flat plane. Oh, got you nearly there, aren't you, McToon, with your tangent? Yeah, I'll have you begging for a tangent plane in no time, my friend. Thanks for watching and commenting my videos. By the way, I don't watch your shit.
Yeah, I actually I addressed McToon on his challenge, and I told him, I said, this is last week at some point or something, I said, your challenge is a mathematical challenge, a globe maths challenge. I said, has no basis. It's not a geometric challenge. It has no basis in reality. And he says, I said, it's the same nonsense as Proto came at us, or that Bob brought onto the show. It's the same exact thing that Bob brought onto the show, and we tore that apart 6 weeks ago. So your challenge was just tore apart 6 weeks ago on Nathan's show. And he said, what was it he said? He made some claims about how his challenge was different and blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, I said, come on to the show and address me personally, I said, Nathan won't mind giving you and me a few minutes, and we'll go through your challenge. No response to that.
Oh, I'll do better than that. You can have 5 minutes uninterrupted. Nobody will interrupt you, McToon.
Yeah, what more would you want? You know?
I mean, I want the big prize. What I want, well, really, I don't. I see it as gambling. It's kind of the devil's work, really. But, I mean, I don't mind anybody else doing it, each to their own. And I want to encourage the globe believers out there to get that £150,000 or 3 Bitcoin out of Dave Weiss. Now, Toon is pretty convinced that this is an excellent proofsy. So I want this disseminating to people, so they forget the 10k. They can go and get 150. 3 Bitcoin, that's a lot of money. So you can have 5 minutes uninterrupted, McToon, to disseminate that to the audience in such a manner that they can get the very simplistic challenge achieved from Dave Weiss. 1 globe proof, 3 Bitcoin. Real simple. 5 minutes uninterrupted, whenever you like. Open door. Like there is every single day, by the way. I mean, me saying this is kind of redundant. This is always the case. Yeah? I always give people their 5 minutes, don't I? You'll hear the guy who came in for Bitcoin last time disseminating his argument to us. But, McToon, yeah, you can have 5 minutes completely uninterrupted. Obviously, we'll hope you stick around after the fact to explain where you get an elevation angle measurement from a curved Earth. Given that I've pointed it out to you now 44 times, I'd hope you'd thought about it and have an answer rather than just throwing out baseless assertions like you do in the comments that, no, sextants require a globe. Do they now? Maybe you can back that up. Bearing in mind I sent him 6 citations immediately that showed how an elevation angle acquisition requires a flat plane. He had nothing. But yeah, 5 minutes uninterrupted, Toon. If you insist on debating Brian because you're scared of me, I'll give you that as well if you want that, if you need that. I don't mind. Open door's always an open door, though. Like I say, this is pretty redundant. He always has this. I say it in every intro now, don't I?
Yeah, I mean, I offered him to come on the show. He definitely saw it because I said 2 things within the same comment, and he only replied to one of the things. And the thing he replied to had nothing to do with coming on the show. So I told him he can come on and lay his challenge down, and we'll go through it point by point. And there was no response to that. And I sent him a thing. I went to his challenge, and I copied word for word what he said about you can't use refraction, you can't use star charts, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, let's start with refraction. What refraction are you talking about? Which refraction are you claiming? Because he doesn't know what refraction he's claiming. Because if he did, he wouldn't be adding that in as a globe-based thing that we can't use. You know.
No way! You're telling me he's saying refraction's a globe thing?
Yeah, he said. Yeah, he doesn't. He thinks that the refraction they're talking about. You see, where this comes from is he thinks the refraction they're talking about in celestial navigation is 7/6 or globe refraction. But what he doesn't realise is the only part of what they do that involves 7/6 is their dip correction to bring their the tangent to the geometric horizon, which is under the water, up, right? Their geometric horizon, their maths horizon, they bring that up to match the horizontal real horizon.
Sorry, just a mild segue, Brian, I'm sorry. You say they take their what now? Their geometric horizon? Do they have that, Brian?
No. That's the thing. It's a mathematical
I'm sorry, I'm really confused. Ruhif was sending Adam depictions. Oh, what do you know? Andrew Thomas Young's diagram on screen while we're talking about this. What a lovely coincidence. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. Ruhif was doing this, was he not? He sent you a diagram and told you how he didn't understand the correction for dip from the geometric horizon. Am I wrong in that?
No. They support and cite the geometric horizon.
Sorry, what geometric horizon would that be? We don't have a geometric horizon.
See.
On screen, Andrew Thomas Young's explaining how you take the line of sight to the geometric horizon, something you haven't got, and then you take the maths for that line of sight to something you cannot see, contradictory though it is in Andrew Thomas Young's explanation, and then you take that and make it into a non-geometric position that's refracted. So what geometric horizon, Rufy? Black Swan. Did you forget? You haven't got a geometric horizon, my friends, to correct for dip on a globe. Au contraire.
They also wouldn't be relating the surface that they're going to navigate to anything they're doing with regards to. This is their disconnect. To make something work within their paradigm, they have to isolate it, shower it in bullshit to make it almost palatable. But as soon as you put the parts of the meal together, you've got custard and gravy next to each other on the plane. It just doesn't work.
I think you mean shower off the bullshit to make it almost palatable.
Well, no. I mean, cover it in bullshit so that you can't tell what it is underneath. Add maths, add in refracted this, just try to sound intelligent, waffle around it. After you've had a good afternoon's training from an anti-flat earther, you should be able to spiel off enough bullshit after the initial statement of mistruth to add a bit of a bit like Baldwin, because that's what it is. You have to cover it in shit so you can't tell how bad the thing underneath is. In my opinion, that's what they do. Not clean it up and present it.
Can I just make the statement?
Works.
Go on, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. Can I just make the statement that I made a video, and it's not about my video. right? So I'm not trying to promote my video. I made a video in the past few days pointing out how celestial navigation used parallel zeniths and how 16 nautical miles per degree does not work without parallel zeniths. Now, I'm getting a lot of backlash from the ballers where they're trying to reverse the burden of proof, saying, how do you prove, how do you, I can't remember exactly what, they went through a lot of nonsense anyway, right? Response videos and that. But the point being, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you've got a mild connection problem, but it's fine.
Yeah, so my headphones went off, but you should be able to hear me fine now. But the point being is that I've been asking them, right, and Ruhif, to make a video, because Ruhif offered me to come on to Discord and he explained it to me, right? I said, no, I want you to make a video, right, a detailed video of the process from step 1 or step A right through to Z or whatever, of how 16 nautical miles per degree works, right, on your model, right, using diverging zeniths and celestial navigation processes, which is the zenith distance co-altitude process.
It doesn't.
Because their claim is always being the 16 nautical miles per degree.
Stop. No, let me just answer that semi-rhetorical question, because obviously you're not in a position to ask and answer it, but I can. It doesn't.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't. It doesn't work.
They have to be parallel.
Exactly. But this is why none of them. This is why they're trying to reverse the burden of proof on me.
Just one thing, further thing to it, because we're nearly at the end of the live show, Brian. It seems to me that these people are arguing against the process of celestial navigation. They're asking you, flipping the burden onto you. No. Celestial navigation is performed with parallel zeniths. You've got 90 degrees at the GP of your position and the GP of the star. Well, your position isn't called your GP. I suppose maybe it is. Is your position called your GP? No, because you've got no star above you. Just your position and the star's GP have both got 90 degrees with a line running between them. That is how it works. That is celestial navigation done with 3D Euclidean flat Earth trig. It's not like you have to do anything in this, Brian. You just need to recognise that as soon as they start saying this, they're actually taking up a beef with celestial navigation and how it is done.
Yeah, I don't like doing response videos because they're normally a waste of time, especially with the people we deal with. But I did make a 57-minute long response video to this video that was made against what I showed. And this guy, the guy that we were all laughing about on QE Live, that guy Peter, or Petey, whatever his name is, he got a load of stuff wrong. I pointed out where he was getting a load of stuff wrong. I spent an hour long going through it. And I called the video, Globe Believer Attacks Celestial Navigation. Because I'm not making, this is the thing, all it is you're claiming this, you're claiming that. No, none of us are claiming any of this. We're just relaying the information. Right? It is our claim, but we're relaying the information via celestial navigation. We don't claim parallel zeniths, they do.
In other words, demonstrated in real life. Sorry,
I was just going to say, if you just take the observer out of it, like with the Eratosthenes observation, like there's no dip to pray to a geometric horizon. There's none of that. You're just using the Earth, a stick, and its shadow to acquire the elevation angle to the sun 500 miles away. So the Earth for 500 miles is measured flat. No getting around that.
Yeah, that's definitely going to get more refinement in terms of the sticks and shadows, which is the first entrance into this discussion when you start debating with a globe believer or anti-flat earther. That's one of the first things that comes up. And it's a flat Earth elevation angle measurement that is taking off a flat plane. It's epic. But it doesn't change the fact that currently we are debating about the process that is used to this day, and it's got parallel zeniths. It doesn't have diverging zeniths. It wouldn't work. It doesn't work. That isn't how celestial navigation is done. But we're being challenged to prove how it could work like that. So what are we talking about? Or how they could take an angle measurement from a flat plane? No, they do that. That is what they do in celestial navigation. That's why I love it. Because as soon as they start challenging it, like, what, you don't believe that celestial navigation's done that way? Your beef isn't with me, my friend.
It gets better than that.
Are you a celestial navigator denier?
Hey, 10. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Are you a
it
celestial navigation denier? Because that's not my claim. I'm not doing this. It's just how it's done. Here we go. There's before we say hello to 10th, and I ran out the live show almost immediately afterwards. There's National Geographic really close to the ground. What do you know?
Yeah, it gets better than that. A sextant cannot work on the globe surface because sextant is an angle measuring device, and you need a baseline to be flat to get an angle. So they can't use the sextant. That's why I said early on, you have to use something else because a sextant cannot work off of a curved baseline. And as much as these people want to swindle their minds, the geometric horizon is a thought experiment. It's not real. Wake up.
Or, in the words of QE, you, the Globers, cannot even admit the existence of the sextant. And with that, I'll say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So tune in at 8:45 today to get the snippet version of the full-length show that goes out at 9 p.m. on my second channel. That's Flat Earth Debate 1613 Uncut and After Show, and the Zanuck clip that goes before it on this channel. So be here or be sphere for both of those. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!